Imagine it's a quiet evening. You and I are sitting across from each other, coffee in hand. And I'm here, not just as a voice, but as someone who's spent nearly 2 decades coaching men, to tell you the hard truths. These aren't random warnings. These are 6 red flags that most men ignore. Until it's too late. Let's begin with the one I see most often in failed relationships. She constantly needs validation. At first, it feels innocent. You tell her she looks great. She smiles. But an hour later, she asks again, "Are you sure I don't look fat today?" If this happens once in a while, fine. But if it becomes a daily ritual, where your emotional energy is constantly used to boost her self-esteem, that's not love. That's a one-sided emotional job. Most of the time, this behavior comes from deep insecurity, what psychologists call anxious attachment. And here's the twist: the more you feed it, the deeper the need grows. You'll start measuring the health of your relationship by how well you keep her emotionally stable. Men I've worked with have seen their careers suffer, their confidence drain, all because they spent their days trying to reassure someone who can never feel enough. And when you try to compliment her deeper qualities, her character, her intelligence, watch how she reacts. If it's met with silence or passive aggression, that's not someone who wants connection. That's someone addicted to external validation. Let's move to the next red flag. She has no close female friends. Now, at first glance, this might not seem like a big deal. But think about it, healthy women with strong emotional intelligence usually have at least a couple of trusted girlfriends. When a woman only hangs out with guys, calls them brothers, besties, just friends, there's often a hidden agenda. Whether it's attention, backup plans, or a support team on standby, these men become orbiters. And when you enter the picture, you're suddenly in a competition you didn't sign up for. Beyond that, it's a sign of conflict avoidance or emotional instability. Why has no woman been able to stay close to her? Ask gently. Say, who do you usually talk to when you're stressed? If the answer is I don't really get along with other women, followed by stories of drama and jealousy, yeah, that's a waving red flag. Because here's the truth, if she can't maintain friendships with women, she's likely going to struggle with long-term emotional bonding with you, too. Now let's talk about one of the most classic patterns I see. She talks trash about all her exes. Look, nobody wants to hear that their partner is still fond of their ex. But when a woman tells you every single one of her past relationships ended because he was a narcissist, he cheated, or he was emotionally abusive and she was always the victim, you should start asking deeper questions. If she's never once said, "Yeah, I made some mistakes too," that's not maturity. That's deflection. And here's what happens next: you will try to be the good guy. You'll go out of your way to prove you're not like those other men. But in doing so, you give her full control of the narrative, and when something goes wrong, you'll be the next villain in her story. Want a quick test? Ask, what did you learn about yourself from your last relationship? If all you hear is blame and zero self-reflection, walk away. Fourth red flag: she keeps testing you. This might come in many forms. She disappears for 2 days to see if you'll worry. She flirts with other men to see if you'll get jealous. She picks fights to see if you'll fight for her. These aren't emotional needs. These are power plays. Push-pull tactics like this are designed to create confusion, not connection. You'll find yourself walking on eggshells, constantly guessing, am I doing enough? Is this another test? Here's my advice: don't participate. Call it out. Calmly say, I'm here for a real relationship, not a performance. Healthy love doesn't require constant trials. If she keeps turning connection into a game, she's not ready for the kind of man you're becoming. Let's move to the fifth flag, one that often gets mistaken for intimacy in the early stages. She disrespects your boundaries. You've known her for 10 days. She's already going through your phone, teasing you in public, asking for your passwords. She tells you, we're in this together. Right? Sounds romantic. But in reality, It's a test balloon for control. Boundaries exist to protect relationships, not to push people away. When someone constantly pokes at them and plays victim when you push back, that's not love. That's manipulation. I've seen men lose their careers, their focus, their identity, all because they didn't say no early on. And remember, the first time you allow your privacy to be violated, you send a message that your boundaries are negotiable. Say it clearly: I care about you, but I value my space and privacy. Watch how she responds. A mature woman will understand. A toxic one will guilt trip you. And now we arrive at one of the most dangerous red flags. She uses sex or affection as a weapon. Everything's great until you disagree with her. Suddenly, she's tired, not in the mood, or needs space. But the moment you do what she wants, apologize, buy her gifts, affection magically returns. This is conditional love, and it's one of the most effective manipulation tools out there. Why? Because it taps into your brain's reward system. You begin to associate love, intimacy, and peace with doing exactly what she wants, even if that means losing yourself in the process. This kind of dynamic slowly erodes your self-respect. You start bending over backwards just to avoid emotional coldness. And before you know it, you're no longer in a relationship, you're in a behavioral loop. Break it. Don't reward manipulation with compliance. Tell her, I value emotional intimacy, but I won't negotiate my integrity for affection. If it happens once, talk. If it becomes a pattern, walk. Now let's bring it all together. None of these red flags are meant to scare you. They're here to wake you up, because the truth is, men don't fall because they're weak. They fall because they ignore what they feel. You don't have to confront every red flag with anger, but you do need to face it with clarity. And most importantly, with boundaries. You're not here to fix someone else. You're here to build a life with someone who respects your energy, your focus, and your growth. So I'll ask you this: which of these red flags have you experienced? Was there one you ignored and paid the price for? Drop your story in the comments, because the more we share, the stronger we become. And if this message spoke to you, hit subscribe, because your journey as a high-value man, your journey to alpha logic, is just getting started.